The VLGA's Victorian Councillor Census is back again in 2025. All councillors in Victoria will be emailed the census on the 6th of October and will have until the end of the month to complete. In its second year, the annual census captures and tracks councillor demographics, attitudes and the key challenges to local governance over time. You don't need to be a VLGA member to participate, and at no stage will the VLGA have access to an individual's responses. The findings of the census will inform, influence and lead conversations across local government and with other tiers of government, and all responses will be fully confidential. This is your chance to have your voice heard as a councillor. The Councillor Census is part of the VLGA's commitment to support councillors on their journey to be successful community representatives. On the roundup today, Merri-bek Council's CEO resigns to head up WorkSafe Victoria. Gates demolished as Yarra's mayor declares a long-running dispute over. Sydney Council urging stronger state action on illegal vapes. Residents protest a high-rise development plan. A breakthrough in a Queensland Council's industrial dispute as another commences a surprise restructure. Deputy Mayor appointments in New South Wales and by-election results and a high-profile resignation in Tasmania. Hello, I'm Chris Eddy. Welcome to the Local Government News Roundup, Australia's #1 local government podcast. Also today,
how the hell is Canberra, Adelaide and Perth considered to be a regional location? It's just obscene. This is where regions are being shortchanged.
Regional Capitals Australia Acting Chair Kevin Mack on the policy changes needed to unlock the potential of regional capitals across the country. The Local Government News Roundup is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, their smart glue platform now available worldwide on the AWS marketplace. Welcome to the podcast for Wednesday, the 24th of September, starting with our Victorian report. And the Victorian Government has announced the appointment of Cathy Henderson as the new Chief Executive Officer of WorkSafe Victoria. Ms Henderson has been the CEO of Merri-bek City Council since 2019 and previously held senior positions at Darebin and Port Phillip Councils in Victoria and Waverley Council in New South Wales. Deputy Premier and WorkSafe Minister Ben Carroll said Ms Henderson's experience across community, regulatory and public sectors would be crucial to addressing workplace safety challenges. Merri-bek's Mayor, Councillor Helen Davidson, said the council was saddened by the news but wished Ms Henderson well in her new role. She said the organisation was in a much better position thanks to Cathy, who'd been a driving force of customer service excellence. Ms Henderson finishes at Merri-bek on the 24th of October. She had been reappointed on a 5-year contract in May last year. The council will appoint an interim CEO before commencing the search for a new Chief Executive Officer. Yarra City Council has demolished gates that it claims were illegally constructed across a public road in the latest move in a long-running dispute with Alphington Grammar School. The Age reported that the weekend demolition took place during school holidays, removing barriers at the end of Old Heidelberg Road that the private school had installed in 2019, citing student safety concerns. At the heart of the dispute is access to the popular Darebin Creek Trail. Local residents have long complained about limited access to the $18 million walking and cycling route completed in 2018. Yarra Mayor Stephen Jolly declared the matter settled, but school principal Vivian Nico has told parents the school is still pursuing other options to secure control over the road. The council plans to construct a safe path to the trail and has already begun work on a pedestrian crossing. The total cost to ratepayers, including the demolition, is estimated at around $400,000. The G21 Geelong Regional Alliance is being restructured into a council-centric model where mayors and council chief executives will form the board. The 5-member councils are set to finalise the new structure in late October, according to the Geelong Independent. The reformed organisation is aiming to streamline governance and improve value while maintaining the collective goal of securing state and federal investment for the region. Stonnington City Council has taken a stand against proposed state heritage guidelines, arguing they could unnecessarily restrict housing development while failing to adequately protect significant local landmarks. Mayor Melina Sear says the council is seeking clearer and more balanced rules that can simultaneously preserve the area's history while meeting the state's housing targets. The council has expressed frustration that several heritage protection proposals for 4 suburbs have been awaiting ministerial approval for up to 2 years. If new guidelines are applied retrospectively, years of planning work might need to be redone. Whitehorse City Council is set to vote on the management model for its $28 million Box Hill City Oval redevelopment. According to the Whitehorse leader, the project will see the refurbishment of facilities and construction of a new West Pavilion. It's funded by all levels of government and AFL Victoria and will commence construction in October, with completion expected by mid-2027. Greater Shepparton City Council is implementing new signage and enforcement measures to prevent e-scooters and recreational vehicles from being used on footpaths in high pedestrian areas. Victoria Police will lead the enforcement activity after concerns were raised by traders and residents about pedestrian safety in the Shepparton CBD and Mooroopna and Tatura main streets. Potential penalties include $200 fines and vehicle impoundment for those who violate local law regulations. A 3-month trial of incontinence product disposal bins in Gannawarra Shire has concluded with mixed results. The council installed special bins at 9 accessible toilet locations across Kahuna, Kerrang, Kundruk and Leachville earlier this year, but found widespread misuse of the facilities. Mayor Garner Smith says data collected during the trial showed contamination at 8 of the 9 sites, with everything from nappies to coffee cups being incorrectly disposed of in the specialised bins. He said increased community demand, improved disposal behaviours and additional funding would all be necessary before a Shire-wide implementation could be considered. And construction will soon begin on a state-of-the-art aquatic and leisure centre in Fraser Rise, marking the city of Melton's largest ever capital project. Mayor Steve Abushi joined federal member Alice Jordan-Baird recently to break ground at the Beatties Road site, where the 2-storey facility will feature indoor and outdoor pools, water slides, fitness areas, and even Australia's first dedicated water sensory space for people with special needs. The multi-million-dollar project is supported by $15 million from the federal government's Thriving Suburbs program. Construction is expected to begin early next year, and the facility is scheduled to open in 2028. More Vic Council news in brief. Port Phillip City Council has released a draft homelessness and affordable housing strategy and endorsed a draft community safety plan for community feedback. Residents with lived experience in unsafe environments and with homelessness will be engaged via targeted consultation. Pyrenees Shire Council is honouring Kathleen and Rosemary Walker, 2 Avoca-born sisters who served as nurses during World War I, by naming 2 previously unnamed streets after them. The proposed names, Kathleen Street and Rosemary Way, will be forwarded to the Registrar of Geographic Names, having received public feedback and council approval. Maroondah City Council has been awarded the Local Government Recognition Award in the inaugural Golf Australia National Awards of Excellence for its commitment to making golf accessible, inclusive and sustainable. And Moyne Shire Council is seeking community input on Grounded, a proposed 4-metre steel sculpture for Port Fairy's East Beach that symbolises Indigenous truth-telling about Aboriginal women taken by early whalers and sealers. Feedback is being gathered through online forms, email and community information sessions until the 9th of October. This is the Local Government News Roundup, episode number 495 for Wednesday the 24th of September. Let's move into New South Wales, where Sydney City Council is urging the state government to strengthen enforcement against illegal vape sales, according to the Daily Telegraph. Despite federal laws banning disposable vapes introduced last year, Sydney councillors claim retailers are still selling e-cigarettes under the counter. The council wants the New South Wales government to limit tobacco licences near schools and medical facilities and has asked Lord Mayor Clover Moore to write to government ministers seeking better regulation. Health Minister Ryan Parks said the state has some of the toughest laws in the country, with penalties including fines up to $1.5 million and prison terms of up to 7 years for those selling illegal vapes. Hundreds of residents have gathered in Sydney's inner west to protest against a controversial high-rise development plan, according to ABC News. The crowd assembled outside Ashfield Civic Centre during heavy rain for what was billed as their final opportunity to voice concerns about the Inner West Council's Fairer Future plan. The plan proposes constructing 31,000 new apartments over the next 15 years, with buildings up to 22 stories high around town centres and transport hubs in Ashfield, Croydon, Marrickville and Dulwich Hill. Inner West Mayor Darcy Byrne said the proposal would increase housing supply for essential workers, young people and renters who can't afford single-family homes. But many protesters expressed scepticism that the new apartments, estimated to cost around $1.5 million each, would genuinely address affordability issues. Mayor Byrne indicated that modifications to the plan might be considered before the final vote at an extraordinary council meeting scheduled for the 30th of September. Byron Shire Council is urging e-bike users to slow down and follow the rules after a series of accidents and near misses in recent years. In a sobering reminder of the dangers, one person died in the Byron Shire last year, while a Mullumbimby resident was seriously injured after being struck by an e-bike this year. Mayor Sarah Nadaye is calling on riders to remember a simple message: cheer up, chill out and slow down on your e-bike. Authorities have recently impounded multiple e-bikes and issued fines to several teenagers. The current regulations limit e-bike speeds to 25 kilometres per hour with helmet use mandatory. The Mayor has also highlighted concerns about e-bike users damaging local sports fields, which have already faced disruptions due to wet weather this year. A bit of elected representative news to round up for you from New South Wales councils now. Following the resignation of Councillor Ash Walker at Gilgandra Shire, the council will implement a countback process to welcome former Councillor Gail Babbage back to the role, avoiding a costly by-election. The countback uses ballot papers from the September 2024 election to determine Councillor Walker's replacement, with Ms Babbage expected to be sworn in at the November council meeting. Councillor Tracy Harrington has been elected Deputy Mayor of Cessnock City Council for a 12-month term, replacing outgoing Deputy Mitchell Hill. Councillor Colin Grigg has been elected as the new Deputy of Lake Macquarie City Council for 12 months, replacing outgoing Deputy Jack Antcliffe. Councillor Frank Damasi has been re-elected Deputy Mayor of Hills Shire Council for a second consecutive 12-month term. First-time Councillor Garion Thane has been elected unopposed as Deputy Mayor of Penrith City Council. He's replacing veteran Councillor Ross Fowler and becomes the youngest person in Penrith's history to hold the office. And at Georges River Council, Sam Stratikopoulos has been elected as the new Deputy Mayor at an extraordinary meeting this week. He's taking over from Councillor Nancy Liu. Lake Macquarie City Council and Central Coast Council have formed a strategic partnership to drive regional growth and collaborate on key projects across their jurisdictions. The two councils collectively represent 600,000 residents and $38 billion in gross regional product. The alliance aims to strengthen advocacy at state and federal levels while addressing shared priorities, including the Morisset-Warnervale Growth Corridor, community infrastructure, energy transition and resource sharing. Rounding up more New South Wales Council news, the Parramatta Aquatic Centre has won the prestigious International Architecture Award for Landscape Architecture, announced in Athens on the weekend. The $88.6 million facility, which opened in September 2023, features multiple pools, a fitness centre, spa and sauna and cafe. The Orange Regional Sporting Precinct has received planning consent from the Western Region Planning Panel, enabling Orange City Council to consider awarding a construction contract at its October meeting. It's funded by $15 million from the Australian Government and $59.5 million from the New South Wales Government, and construction is expected to commence before the end of the year. And Bega Valley Shire Council will submit 5 motions to the LG New South Wales Annual Conference addressing housing crisis solutions, arts funding for regional galleries, support for local government apprenticeships, and reinstatement of the Business Connect program. The conference will be attended by Mayor Russell Fitzpatrick and 3 councillors. The Roundup is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, with the second iteration of the councillor census to hit email inboxes from the 6th of October. If you're a Victorian councillor, find out more about that by heading to the VLGA's website. And we receive support from Symphony 3 with their Smart Glue platform now available worldwide on the AWS Marketplace. Now let's head to Queensland for some news where Southern Downs Regional Council says it's making progress on a new certified agreement that offers fair working conditions for employees, developed through negotiations with several unions. CEO Rachel Brophy expressed satisfaction with the balanced agreement and says it will ensure stability for employees and position the council as an active employer. The Courier-Mail reported that the in-principle agreement provides for a 6%, 5% and 4% pay rise over 3 years and no changes to Sunday working arrangements. Voting has opened on the new agreement. Meanwhile, the council has issued a formal apology to former councillor Stephen Tancred and his wife Peter Sheehan after Mayor Melissa Hamilton and councillors Morwenna Haslett and Joel Richters made remarks during a June 18 council debate that could be interpreted as questioning their integrity regarding a development application. The council clarified that no dishonesty or disregard for planning conditions was intended to be implied, and the mayor and councillors have withdrawn their comments and apologised for any hurt caused by misinterpretation of their remarks. The Courier-Mail reports that employees at Redlands City Council have been caught off guard by a surprise restructure plan announced on Monday. According to sources within the council, CEO Louise Roussan's restructure plan was revealed to councillors just days before a confidential motion was passed at last week's council meeting, with employees learning about it on Monday. The restructure comes as Mayor Jos Mitchell's independent efficiency review is underway. The council released a statement Tuesday saying they're consulting with employees and unions and that the restructure aims to achieve efficiencies and cost savings. Meanwhile, Redlands City Council's new $1.70 quarterly fee for paper rates notices is proving controversial, with elderly residents calling it discriminatory while supporters view it as environmentally friendly. The Courier-Mail reported that the fee, which will cost households nearly $7 annually if they don't switch to email delivery, has divided the community between those who see it as an unfair paper tax and those who consider it a necessary push towards digital efficiency. And Sunshine Coast Council will conduct an annual inspection program for regulated dogs to ensure that owners comply with safety requirements, including proper containment, microchipping and specific public conduct rules. The program aims to protect the community by enforcing the strict obligations that come with owning dangerous or menacing dogs, with potential penalties including fines of up to $25,000 for non-compliance. Quite a lot to tell you about out of Tasmania today, where a scathing audit report has criticised Tasmanian councils and the Environmental Protection Authority for inadequate management and regulation of landfill sites, with half of the state's waste ending up in the ground, according to a report from the Mercury. Auditor-General Martin Thompson's concerns include inconsistent governance, lack of oversight of closed sites, and failure to address potential risks to human health and the environment. He's recommended a statewide landfill strategy and a stronger enforcement approach. West Coast Council has expressed concern over reports that Bendigo Bank has a home loan blacklist affecting major West Coast mining towns. Mayor Shane Pitt has called it a slap in the face, particularly as the bank is closing its only regional branch in the area. The council plans to write to Bendigo Bank seeking confirmation of the claims, noting the irony that a bank founded in goldfields might be discriminating against mining communities. Devonport City Council has unanimously approved plans for a permanent memorial featuring 6 sculptural pillars within a wildflower garden to honour the children who died in the 2021 Hillcrest Primary School jumping castle tragedy. Pulse Tasmania reported that the memorial, designed in consultation with the families and jointly funded by state and federal governments, will serve as a place of remembrance and celebration rather than mourning. Deputy Mayor Charles Woolley has resigned from Sorell Council, triggering a recount to fill the vacancy. Councillor Woolley, a former journalist and TV and radio personality, has moved out of the council area, making him ineligible to continue in the role. Unelected candidates from the 2022 ordinary election have the option to be included in the count, which will occur after 12 noon on the 6th of October. A by-election to fill a vacancy on Central Highlands Council has resulted in the election of Shelley Triffitt from a field of 5 candidates. That by-election followed the recent death of Councillor Tony Bailey. And Anthony Richards has been confirmed elected to Dorset Council as the only candidate to nominate for the vacant office. That vacancy arose through the resignation of James Cashion in late June. In Western Australia, which is well and truly in local government election mode at the moment, the town of East Fremantle has issued a statement responding to community concerns about its multi-million-dollar community park redevelopment project. Outgoing Mayor Jim O'Neill revealed he's been subjected to online abuse during the project's development, with obscene comments directed at him and his family's personal information being posted online. Perth Now reported that the town has committed $8 million to the facility, with an additional $26 million coming from the state government and contributions from Lottery West and the AFL Facilities Fund. The council unanimously voted to release a statement addressing misleading claims about the town's ability to fulfil its obligations. It said robust and constructive discussion about how to continually improve governance and services is welcome, but it must remain accurate and respectful of the facts. In the Northern Territory, Brian Pedwell has been reappointed as Mayor of Victoria Daly Regional Council, with Yvette Williams as Deputy Mayor, following the re-election of all council members in the recent Northern Territory local government elections. Councillor Pedwell will serve as Mayor for 4 years, while Councillor Williams holds the Deputy role for 12 months. The council was sworn in by the Honourable Stephen Edgington, the Territory's Minister for Housing, Local Government and Development. Let's round up some stories of interest now from our global report. In the UK, Perth and Kinross Council leader Grant Lang has resigned after being charged with embezzlement, allegedly committed between 2017 and this year. The BBC reported that he's also left the SNP to sit as an independent councillor. Deputy Leader Eric Drysdale will serve as acting leader until the next council meeting on October 29. Dorset Council is attempting to recover at least £1 million lost through mismanagement in a property update and repair project, which resulted in 11 external staff being dismissed following an internal investigation. BBC News reported that a police investigation is ongoing, while the council has established a cross-party review group to examine the circumstances and learn from the mistakes to prevent similar issues in the future. Former Ripon City Council leader Andrew Williams has rejected claims that he made decisions without involving other councillors, describing the accusations as outlandish. He's told the Darlington and Stockton Times that all council decisions were properly recorded and publicly available. The controversy comes amid turbulence at the authority, including Williams's resignation as leader due to poor health and a planned no-confidence vote in the mayor. In the US, a surprise move this week as tech giant Google has withdrawn a proposal for a massive 468-acre data centre in Franklin Township, Indiana. Data Centre Dynamics reported that the decision came just hours before the Indianapolis City County Council was expected to vote down the company's rezoning request. Local opposition to the project, known as Project Flow, was fierce, with hundreds of residents packing the council chambers yesterday. When the withdrawal was announced, the room erupted in cheers. A Google spokesperson expressed disappointment, but affirmed the company's commitment to growth in Indiana. This latest development comes in the same week that Google received approval to expand another data centre onto protected wetlands in Fort Wayne, Indiana, despite significant local opposition there as well. In Aurora, Colorado, a city council divide continues to deepen as meetings remain virtual following protests over the shooting death of Kylin Lewis. Denver7.com reported that 3 council members broke ranks on Monday night, hosting their own in-person community gathering to demonstrate their opposition to the online-only format. The council moved meetings online over summer after disruptions from protesters demanding justice for Lewis, an unarmed black man killed by Aurora police in May. The city now faces 2 lawsuits, a wrongful death claim and another alleging First Amendment violations. While Mayor Mike Kaufman has indicated meetings may soon return to normal, the 3 dissenting council members have pledged to continue hosting alternative in-person sessions until official meetings return to their original format. In Canada, Cambridge City Council in Ontario moved its council meeting online this week after an incident with a disruptive member of the public. The city said it's taking proactive steps to ensure a safe and respectful environment for council, staff and community members. It's not elaborated about the nature of the incident, but it comes as a new safety measure was being introduced to conduct mandatory bag checks at all council meetings from this week. And Vancouver City Council has unanimously voted to require annual public disclosure of all financial compensation received by the mayor and councillors, consolidating information that was previously spread across multiple sources. The motion, introduced by Mayor Ken Sim to improve transparency, will include salaries, stipends, per diems and other compensation, though it rejected an amendment to include attendance records, according to CBC News. That wraps up our news roundup for this edition, but stay with us. It's time for Roundup Extra. Regional Australia is facing critical challenges and opportunities in population distribution, workforce shortages and sustainable growth. And the Regional Capitals Australia Group has been at the forefront of advocating for policy changes that could reshape our nation's regional development. Kevin Mack is the Mayor of Albury City Council and Acting Chair of Regional Capitals Australia. He spoke to me about the group's ideas for unlocking the potential of regional capitals, which currently serve as home to 9 million Australians. You've recently met with the Assistant Minister for Immigration, Matt Thistlethwaite, in Canberra. You're looking for a range of policy changes that would be of advantage to regional centres. What are you actually asking the government to do?
Look, we're looking for a better share of the designated area migration agreement, and he tells me they're reviewing that and currently making changes because we think that a lot of the migration occurs within the greatest populous areas and the regions miss out. So we're looking at that more specifically. He spoke at length about the numbers that are coming into the country every year, over 125,000 every year. He says two-thirds of those people are skilled migrants. So, regions are great places to live. And certainly you couple that with the housing policy at the moment, the federal government and state governments are pushing hard to get more homes into their respective areas, but they're all focusing on metropolitan areas. They're not focusing on the regions as that opportunity. And I think that really is unfortunate because the highest level of productivity for our country comes from the regions. And I think that's really an issue they're actually avoiding.
Yeah. So as I understand it, only about 17% of the net overseas migration settles outside of the state capitals in the regional areas. So what specifically needs to change to get a bigger share of that in the regions?
So, Chris, there's a really prevailing view that is a little bit complicated because currently under the Dharma agreement, Newcastle, Canberra, Adelaide and Perth are considered to be regional capitals. Are they serious?
Yeah.
So that's 17%. If you break that down any further, well, it'd be probably 3% to the real regional capitals of Australia. So,
Right.
I mean, they're reviewing that as part of this policy change, but it's just ludicrous that I think Wollongong's part of it as well. So how the hell is Canberra, Adelaide and Perth considered to be a regional location? I'm sure the people living in those locations would disagree, but it's just obscene. And I think, again, this is where regions are being shortchanged at every juncture, whether it comes to the data in relation to this, whether it comes to data in relation to GP shortages or hospitals or anything else. Everything seems to be focusing on where the greatest vote is. And Chris, that's the unfortunate nature of politics. The Labor government have always been a metro government because that's where they get all their votes. But the people should not be denied of the opportunity to access good health, access good skills, access good people in their regions. Even the numbers for housing, it's just prohibitive. So 55,000 homes, they've said, for New South Wales in the regions. That's not enough homes, and they haven't even designated. They haven't even done their background or their due diligence to say where that would be best served. So basically, throw them all into one pot. And New South Wales have committed to 327 homes or something, 27,000 homes. 55,000 of those will be in the regions. It's just, I mean, the logistics and the numbers they use are just exactly that, numbers. They just don't think about how that impacts upon our regions.
So when you talk about regions, clearly Adelaide, Perth, Canberra aren't part of the group that you're speaking on behalf of. Just paint the picture for us. What are the centres we're talking about? Or Canberra?
If Canberra were part of it, we might have a bit more sway.
Yeah, true.
Oh, look, it's just another bureaucratic bungle, I believe. I mean, what are the metrics and what are the factors they're including in that classification? Because as far as I'm concerned, they've got over 1 million people in each centre. They are not regional capitals of Australia, and they do not sit in regions. They do not deal with what we have to deal with in regions every day. And, we've got a significant Western Australian membership in Regional Capitals Australia at the moment. And talk to the miners, talk to the people that are trying to get staff into those areas to do the hard yards. And we're not just talking about mining, we're talking about hospitality, tourism, health, all those approved industries that under the holiday maker, working holiday maker program, they're not included. So there's a whole range of changes that have to occur. And we spoke to Matt about that under the current working holiday maker program, they need to expand it to include tourism, include hospitality, include health workers, because unless they do, we miss out every time. And it's just not equitable. And that's what this country's about, equity of access.
So you're pushing the need for urgently for more migrant workers to be able to work in these industries in the regions. Just paint the picture for us. What is this shortage looking like on the ground right now?
Oh, it's becoming critical. I think, again, we're being held back from a productivity point of view. Even here in Albury-Wodonga, we're being held back significantly because there are not enough workers to go around. I made this statement the other day on another radio station that people want to criticise those who work. If they're migrants coming to Australia, I applaud them because they're prepared to work. Don't criticise and make fun of Indians or any other race. Don't racially profile people because they choose to work. There's 5 generations of social welfare in this country, a product of a previous Labor government back in the 70s, that it's accumulating at such a rate. We've got young people going to the bank every fortnight saying, I'm picking up my pay. It's in their brain. They're totally brainwashed to believe that they are actively contributing to this community. Now, I really feel sorry. Socially, that is a real blight on our country, that these kids feel that way, and we need to support those kids and their families better to enable them to work. And there's all these JobKeeper schemes and whatever. Everything that starts with job is some keeper or pretender. But we need to actually get them into work, and we're not providing the resources to do that. On the flip side, we talked to Matt about the issues with the soft services they used to provide to settle migrants in this country. They're gone. They've withdrawn. A lot of the money that used to fund linguistic services, used to fund settlement services, used to fund all the necessary things for the people arriving in our communities to thrive. And that includes the capital cities. And basically what happens now is that they service their own needs. And you're finding a lot of these collectives are creating their own community groups to provide that service. I mean, it's like the men's shed proposition. Great for mental health, great women's sheds, great for mental health, getting people together. But they funded them for 3 years, and suddenly they become the providence of either council or the people running them, and that's not fair. And Chris, again, this migrant issue, they keep bringing migrants into our country, and they use the provocation that it's for skilled migration. Provide them with the soft skills that they require to thrive. We can't do it as councils in regional Australia. You can't do it in metropolitan areas. They're doing a massive inquiry. They've done one in every state about the viability of local government. Christy McBain started one in the federal government and has assured us it will continue. But what does that look like for the future of our country? If the state put a tax on, feds put a tax on, and then local government has put a tax on to cover for the things they've cost shifted to us. It's running at 32% cost shifting at the moment. And we keep reminding these ministers of that, and they just keep throwing their hands up. But simply with migration, the simple changes are modify the working holiday program to include hospitality, tourism, and health, because they are critical issues that we require to address. Modify the Dharma policy to rid ourselves of Perth, Adelaide, and Canberra, because then we might get a better share of the 17%, and actually look at the core responsibilities of regional cities and how they provide for their communities every day, and provide us with that will and that way to do it, because we are a great opportunity. And we keep telling the government this, but hey, the votes aren't in the regions. And again, that's the sticking point. And I really challenge any politician in this country that defies or denies anyone with right of access to good health, good education, and a thriving community. They are holding us all back.
You touched on housing briefly earlier. What about the housing pressures we're under now and that argument that, you bring in more workers, where are you going to put them? How are we going to house them? What can happen in the regional capitals to deal with that issue more effectively than what's happening now, do you think?
Well, the thing about it is that they keep shoving a round peg into a square hole. Like, you got Bankstowns, you got your Penriths. In Melbourne, you got your Broadmeadows, you got your growth areas. But essentially, they are pushing them further and further out and not considering how that impacts upon the ability for those people to travel to where they need to go to work. In regional areas, everything's within 5 minutes. And certainly a little bit of common sense would say the best bang for buck and the cheapest way for new migrants and arrivals to thrive would be to put them in a regional location. The other thing we spoke to Matt about is, even with the GP situation and professionals, provide them with a reason to stay in regions, and put a caveat on the fact you need to stay in that location for 3 to 4 years, and then give them a chance to absorb what's so great about regions. It's not being unreasonable. We're providing them with a wonderful country to live in, provide them with a wonderful location to live in, and support them with those soft services I spoke about. The
Mm.
housing crisis is its own genesis. In regions, we're able to turn housing over quicker than urban cities because there's so many overlays and bureaucracies involved. But the New South Wales government only recently brought in more changes within the planning system. I don't think they've gone far enough still, because essentially they should be looking at exempt and complying developments for all residential housing, because builders, they build the houses. Their reputation is at risk all the time. I got response from the planning director at one point in Sydney saying, "Oh, but that'll encourage bodgy builders." I said, "Hang on." You put out books of pattern. These are the houses you can build for nothing, and you throw out six plans to people. And they say, "Oh wow, who's going to build those ones?" The bodgy builders, because they don't have a plan. They just defeat their own common sense in this process. But I would have think exempt and complying developments across Australia would unleash this market to opportunity. And unfortunately, here's the money loaded up at the front end, but they're not thinking what happens at the back end.
What expectations do you have out of your meeting with the Assistant Minister? Did you get any commitments from him on any of these points you're looking for action on?
The minister was very open to the Dharma stuff, and certainly very open to the holiday program stuff, for sure. And he said he would take it certainly on advice about the soft skills stuff. And look, that's not something that they don't know about. Successive governments, not just the Labor government, the Liberal government also have withdrawn that money because, let's leave it to the cultures to sort that out. But that doesn't create a solution. If you remember back in the 70s and 80s, Chris, and you and I might remember that, when they had the mass migration of the
Yeah.
Vietnamese after the Vietnam War, they were just pushed into high-rise housing commission, left to their own devices. How did that work for us?
Yeah.
Not well.
Yeah.
And
True.
essentially, to integrate and to make your stronger communities, you need to be as one. You got to bring them along on the journey. And as a previous policeman, I've experienced when they brought in the Vietnamese. I've also experienced when they brought in the Nepalese, and they had and other cultures. They have different approaches to everything, whether it's their domestic situations, whether it's their right of access to their family. They look at things differently and a different prism because they come from a country where that's different over there. You need to educate and provide them with the support they need to thrive. And I think that's what we need to do with all of our communities, because essentially you've only got 5 layers of social welfare for a reason. We've
Yeah.
the family unit is breaking down because we haven't provided them with the necessary support they need to be better. They don't want to be on welfare. They don't want to be where they are. They want to thrive too. And I think, again, we need to set the example, not be the example. And unfortunately, you can throw money at housing all you like, but unless you unlock the opportunity by creating exempt and complying developments, it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
It's going to be just caught up in red tape and bureaucracy. What you need to do is actually look at the planning construct, look at what can you do what can you change, and what they can change is partition money out of those funds to build what's under the ground. Getting back to the sustainability of local government, give us water and sewer, fund the water and sewer that's needed for this growth. If you've read in recent CBA data, 16-fold increase in net migration, not just, this is all comers in the last couple of years. Now, we have seen that growth, but one of our growth areas that we're running at 465 homes a year within that one area, but you can't keep the water and sewer up to. And water and sewer, with the cost of living, has gone through the roof to build that. And that infrastructure is outstripping the developer contributions, outstripping our capacity as a council to provide them. So if you want to boost a particular part of the market, you've got to petition money off. So the states have to give you that money. When you say, well, I'm going to build 20 homes or 30 homes, provide the infrastructure funds also to do that. So be smart about it. Don't just give them a block of money where they just clip the ticket and they put their arms around and say they like little acorns in a bloody squirrel's nest, and they just take their 15 or 20% off the top, because this is why they don't want to direct. Who's going to clip the ticket on the way through?
Yeah, very true.
But
very
I'll
true.
just
Yeah.
don't worry about that. Man, that's
do-
billions and billions of dollars.
I do have no doubt we could go on about this for quite some time. Before I let you go, though, just on Regional Capitals Australia, you've stepped into the acting chair position. I know you've been the chair before. Peter Carter resigned at Port Hedland. That precipitated the dismissal of that council. But what I was thinking when I was going through all of those permutations, Port Hedland's a very different community to Albury, where you said. How do you reconcile those different elements of the different regional capitals around Australia when you do sit and think, how do we deliver better outcomes for these communities? There must be some challenges there.
Funnily enough, Chris, the same challenges we find. Like transport is one of the biggest issues. Airports are one of the biggest issues in regional capitals Australia. Another issue that I brought to the forefront with the ministers in the New South Wales government, and the Treasurer said, hang on, that's a providence of the federal government. And I said, no, it's not, Treasurer. It's actually, they're owned by local government, meaning if we own them, you own them because you own us. Oh, no, that's cost shifting. I said, oh, come on. 3 ministers I spoke to that over that 2 days all believed, no, they're federal government responsibilities. No, they're not.
Really?
And there's great cost to councils to maintain and operate. Yes, the federal government do contribute to things that affect safety of those airports, like tarmac and other things, but not the facility, not the wages that it costs to run the facility.
So there's a serious issue there, isn't there? If we're asking the higher levels of government to do something fundamental about the way local government is structured and funded, if they don't actually understand how the system works at the moment, we've got a problem.
Chris, I had a chat with Jenny Aitchison, the Minister for Roads, and the same issue was raised with her. She said, no, they're owned by the federal government. I said, Minister, please, we had this conversation with the Treasurer yesterday. I'll explain it to you again, as I just explained. And by separation, the tarmac on an airport is no different to tarmac on a road. It carries a bigger vehicle. You're responsible for that tarmac, and you're responsible for our airports because you own us. And she looked at her chief of staff and said, do we? I said, well, you wind us up at any point you like. But no, to your point about the cities, we all have the same issues. We have problems with growth. We have problems with health. We have problems with education. We have problems of being shortchanged by our respective state and federal governments. So it's not just making representation to the federal government, it's the state government as well. And Western Australia, all states have shown enormous interest in our platform, and we do get things done. And to the airport issue, we actually got the previous Liberal National Party government to step money aside for regional airports. Unfortunately, since this government has taken over the last 2 terms, it's disappeared again. But they don't own the airports. The federal government do not own the airports. And essentially, poor old Broken Hill needs a massive upgrade out there. The state government say, we don't own that airport. Well, you do. In the 70s, they deeded all airports back to the local government. Hang on. Who can wind local government up? Oh, the state government can. Well, that means you own us. And Jenny Aitchison said, oh, okay.
Yeah, we are a creature of the state, as I often
I'm
say.
serious, Chris. Yeah. It's like an episode of Utopia every day with some of these people. And you think, and Matt Thistlethwaite got it. I believe he got it. And a genuine sort of fella, and he got it. But it's about actually continually sharing that message with the respective ministers. And basically, without disrespecting their position, they got a lot of stuff on their plate, but understand the role of local government, because we deliver the best part of government services to our community, and we're the most accessible, and we're the ones that keep the ball rolling over and over in the community. So they need to understand that, and we're not just putting our hand up because we waste money. We're putting our hand up because we need it.
Good spot to end. Thank you. All the best with the Regional Capitals Australia move towards determining the chair on an ongoing basis, but I think it's in safe hands for the moment. Well done to you, Kevin, and thanks very much for talking to us.
Thanks, mate. Bye.
That's Kevin Mack, the Acting Chair of Regional Capitals Australia, ending this edition of the Local Government News Roundup. You can find out more about this episode, including links to the stories referenced, by heading to our website at lgnewsroundup.com. This has been edition number 495, recorded on the morning of Wednesday, the 24th of September 2025. Our podcast is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. The Local Government News Roundup is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. We come your way every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Until our next edition, thanks for listening and bye for now. Support for our podcast comes from Symphony 3, which has announced exciting news. It's launched its innovative Smart Glue platform on the AWS marketplace. That makes the secure and affordable integration solution accessible to government agencies worldwide. The platform includes over 50 pre-built connectors specifically designed for public sector systems, government APIs, enterprise solutions and AWS services to transform citizen experiences by breaking down data silos. Smart Glue delivers operational excellence for local governments through cost reduction, process optimization, improved decision-making and scalable architecture, all while maintaining comprehensive security and compliance standards required by public sector organisations. Get in touch to see how Symphony 3's expanded team and solutions can support your goals. Head to symphony3.com to find out more.